the Trump administration is not going to give up on oil prices. They're going to do everything they possibly can to make sure it doesn't go up. But I look at the curve in this shape. That's not manipulation to me. That's the market saying shit's getting bad in the short run, and the inevitable consequences are like every other energy shock that we've seen in history, which is a global recession at the very least. And that's what the curve is looking like to me.
Yeah, the curve is saying that shit is going to get really bad in the short term, but in the long term, with demand destruction and the war ending in the long term, things are going to get better pretty quickly.
Yeah, and eventually the marketplace says, you know what, we don't care about Iran anymore. We're more concerned about who we're going to sell our oil to because we can't find buyers. So that's, I think attention slowly turns in that direction. And that's exactly what the shape of the curve. When it's $20 backward dated from September to June next year, $20. Yeah. These are historic spreads. And again, that's the marketplace playing probabilities. It's saying in the very high probability in the short run, people are going to be panicking for delivery of oil. And then out, to June of next year, balance of probabilities is that oil prices are substantially lower, not necessarily $70, but substantially lower than they are today. That's, demand destruction, not optimistic case about where the Iran conflict goes.
Interesting. Okay. So how much breathing room does that give Trump? Because if the oil futures are expecting this to end soon, and they know there's going to be demand destruction later on, doesn't that give Trump a bit of breathing room to go really, really, really hard for a short period of time, knowing that the price would collapse really quickly when he wraps things up? Do you know what I mean? Because what he's done, he's already done that. He's gone out on the war with Iran. He closed the Strait of Hormuz, and as soon as he walked away, oil price collapsed. Isn't the market telling him like, hey, go ham, bomb the hell out of them, and then walk away again, and we'll go back down to $60, $70?
I've come to think that was the strategy all along. I know it's a small sample size, but like you said, Mario, we've seen it once already. Trump got to, we hammered him really hard from the U.S. perspective. We hammered him really hard. We got maybe, in their estimation, we got closer to our objective, but still well short of it. We backed off. Oil prices came down. Things started to look positive. Some supply started moving. Some inventory started to build up again. And then all of a sudden it was like, you know what? Screw this MOU. We're going to bomb the hell out of them all over again. It does seem to be a specific and even an intentional strategy here. They take it to as far as they believe that they can take it and then back off. Understanding, again, like we just said, the oil market is highly sensitive to every single possibility that the war is over. So again, you put yourself in Trump's shoes. Well, I mean, of course you're going to do something like that. Plus, he also has the political considerations where, the War Powers Act means you get a 60-day window. So for 60 days, you bomb the hell out of Iran. Oil prices go up. Everybody goes crazy. Markets go nuts. And then you back off. You allow yourself time to restock your assets and move some stuff around. Congress backs off a bit because it looks like, you're still within the legal framework. The marketplace calms down. And after a period of time when it looks like things are calming, you still haven't hit your objectives, you rinse and repeat the old shampoo bottle instructions here. I think that's a specific strategy, and I don't think it's unreasonable to believe that's what's taking place.
Is there other economic factors other than the oil prices that could force Trump to backtrack on this war, to tackle relatively soon?
The only thing is if we see an outbreak of unemployment. I mean, gasoline prices are bad, and it's turning public opinion certainly against the conflict itself, and to a certain extent, the Trump administration. Though a lot of the polls are unreliable to begin with, but you haven't seen a whole lot of movement in some of those. I think what really goes too far is when you trigger a wave of unemployment. So if you have high gasoline prices, which people already don't like, they certainly don't have enough income to pay for high energy costs as it is. People are giving up their trips to the restaurants, vacations are now staycations, that kind of thing. You throw some real bad unemployment on top of everything, and then that's when the political winds shift. Though, to be fair, I kind of think the Trump administration has already calculated some scenarios where that takes place. And so the Iranian leverage, as much as they had, was okay. We're going to control Hormuz as much as we possibly can, get oil prices to skyrocket. We'll break the global economy, send unemployment skyrocketing everywhere, and then Trump loses the midterms, which means he's got to come to the bargaining table on our terms. I think the Trump administration very early on said, "Yeah, we'd like to avoid that scenario, but if we have to, we'll sacrifice the short-term recession in the United States and higher unemployment to achieve the objectives that we've set out for." We don't know what those are, but we'll achieve those objectives. They think the long run gain, whatever they're going to gain out of the conflict, is worth the short run pain. So I'm not sure that's as much leverage as Iran actually thinks it is. I think they have decided, look, we expect that shit's going to get bad, and so we'll just ride out the short run storm. We're sorry, all you Republicans in Congress. We're sacrificing you to the midterm wave because we think it's worth it in the long run. I think that's really the case here in the strategy.
Yeah, you told me that a while ago. You said to me, I think you think Trump has already given up on the midterms. And for him, the long-term importance of this objective, whatever it is, or of what we believe is controlling the Strait of Hormuz, which is now, by the way, I remember our first discussion, we believe that the reason for the war is control of the Strait of Hormuz. It's more than Israel, more than anything else. It's for the US.
It's about China rather than strictly the Middle East.
Exactly. Gain the control of the Strait of Hormuz as leverage over China. Now it's like desperation survival, because initially it was like, hey, we're going to make sure Iran can never close the Strait of Hormuz and we can control it and close it and open it. So this way we have leverage over China. And now it's like, hey, look, we're not going to control it. Let's just go back to how it was, even if it, we just don't want Iran to be able to charge a fee or only have the Omani corridor. We just want to go back to the status quo we were trying to change beforehand. First, it's sad for the US, it's sad that the Trump administration has put itself in this position, because in a way, if what our theory is correct, there is no way in hell Trump will accept Iran controlling and charging a fee in the Strait of Hormuz. We believe he went to war to make sure that the US controls it. Now we're gonna believe that suddenly not only is the US not gonna control it, but Iran will actually have more control over it and be able to charge a fee. Is that fair to say that from an economic sense, Iran controlling the Strait of Hormuz long-term would be catastrophic for U.S. foreign policy, U.S. hegemony, even the hegemony of the U.S. dollar, because the U.S. Navy is no longer the insurer of the freedom of navigation around the world?
Yeah, there's I hate to use the term red line because everybody has red lines and they never really mean anything, but I really think that's the case. It's not really about the nuclear program. I mean, that's a big part of it, sure. But it really is settling the Hormuz issue once and for all. And so there is no going back. So I took it when the Trump or Rubio started to soften their rhetoric about, like you said, maybe going back to the status quo beforehand. I don't think that was ever serious. I think that was just part of the act that they played in public to keep oil prices temporarily low while they rebuilt and re-upped whatever it is they were going to do, whatever their plans were. They refreshed themselves. I don't think they ever were going to accept the possibility of Iran doing this or doing that. And I still don't think anybody really knows who they're negotiating with on the other side. It really seems to me like there are several different factions. As Trump and Rubio and the U.S. negotiators are talking to one faction, and then there's the hardliner IRGC they will not tolerate anything else. I kind of think the strategy here is to drive a wedge between those. I mean, what was the statement earlier today, or was it yesterday, where Trump said, "Look, Iran could be the most prosperous country in the entire Middle East." I think that was not a message to the U.S. That was not a message to Europe. That was a message to the moderate factions within Iran, saying, look, ditch the IRGC, ditch the hardliners, join us. Not only will you have less conflict and less problems with the hardline, you will have a prosperous future. I think that's the way out in front of the U.S. administration is they think they can break down these factions and, not necessarily, hopefully not lead to a civil war or something like that, but at least to the point where a functioning or at least semi-functioning part of the moderate government is able to wrest control of the country, or enough of the country away that they can actually have some negotiations. I think that's the U.S. objective here. And it's not really and there is no, like you said, the Hormuz issue has to be settled once and for all, because otherwise it would be a complete and utter waste of time, effort, and human lives to have done this. So Trump is not going to back down until Hormuz issue is settled, along with the nuclear issue, and who knows whatever else goes along with it. I kind of think they were betting on, or at least hoping, that they could get some kind of regime change or regime collapse along the way. That would certainly grease the wheels along to get to their objectives. But Hormuz is a no-go as far as both sides are concerned, at least the hardliners in Iran, which means that's why we have $20 backwardation on the WTI futures curve, because this thing ain't going away. The portfolio that performs in one economic regime can get crushed in the next. So in this free webinar, we're going to reveal what those 4 economic regimes are, how to identify them, as well as the assets, historically speaking, best positioned to perform in every environment. So reserve your seat now and learn how to prepare your portfolio before the economy shifts again.